Great. I believe that we are now live on Facebook. Hello, everybody. My name is Anna, and I am coming to you from the New York Open Center, and I'm very delighted to be here with Priscilla Bright, who is a master teacher and healer of energy medicine and energy healing. And we are so excited to have you with us. The New York Open Center is the longest running urban holistic education center in New York City. And probably we would say in the United States. It has been running since 1984 and it has served as a home base for the community of spiritually minded, healing minded people from all walks of life who have come to the Open Center to meet each other, to study, to train, to practice. And there have been many teachers who decades ago started out learning at the Open Center and then deepened and became masters and now teach all over the world. And so the Open Center has had a long, rich history, and we're really proud to still be with you. Since COVID, we have moved from a brick and mortar out of necessity and are now streaming all of our programs online. And while we really look forward to getting back to brick and mortar, we are very excited that we have now can welcome an international community of people from all time zones and people from all parts of the United States to be with us. So thank you for being with us. Our website is opencenter.org and all of our programs are listed there. But most importantly, I'm really excited to be with Priscilla Bright. She is a veteran. She is somebody who has been leading the holistic health movement since the 70s and continues to be a leader and a teacher and a healer. And I wanted to properly introduce Priscilla. One of the qualities I really appreciate is that Priscilla started out, maybe not quite started out, but she's got two sides to her. She has the traditional degrees and trainings from a traditional school, which was a master's in public health from Boston University School of Medicine. So that's pretty serious. But at the same time, you've spent your career merging other healing modalities and being a bridge for traditional and non-traditional medicine. You are the founder and director of a holistic health education program out of Boston. For 40 years, you've been leading healing programs and retreats, particularly for healthcare practitioners and healers. So you're helping the healer heal. You've done this in hospitals, in national healthcare companies, at national conferences. I mean, I can go on, but you have a very deep body of work. But you've particularly honed in on the Barbara Brennan School of Energy Healing. And I'd love to start there and tell us a little bit about how you walked into the Barbara Brennan School, why you chose it, and what is it?
Okay, great question. Thank you, Anna.
Yeah.
Big question.
Yeah, that's a big question, but
I'll tell you one of the ways I walked into it, and then we can talk about the Brennan School itself. I was doing a lot of work in stress reduction and wellness, holistic health with individuals and with clients. And I still felt like a lot of the stress management work, was still a bit intellectual, and it was a little hard even though we had practices to do and such, it was a little hard to sort of get through people's defenses. Get through, they're just so worked up and so stressed. And I found that energy healing is just subtle enough, and there's no words. It's not an intellectual exercise or even a speaking exercise. It's in a sense I experienced it as the deepest original compassion. It's just holding someone with the deepest honoring. I have a lot of training now as a healer, and the Brennan School has, an infinite number of techniques and wonderful, depth of healing science techniques. But I think at the heart of any good healing, whatever your training, is to learn to hold the deepest respect and honoring and compassion for another in yourself, in your field, and in the way you lay your hands on that person.
Mm.
And as you and I had talked about before, that's been throughout human history that people have had that knowledge, that awareness of the importance. So for my population that I was working with, nurses and different people, therapists, this was a breakthrough for me in my work to suddenly go also for myself, for my own healing as a practitioner, my own stress, my own perfectionism, and life as an emotional, sensitive person, which most of our viewers today are, deeply intuitive and affected by things and feel things. And so for me also, the healing of energy work went to my core.
So I'm hearing you say that it's about deep compassion. And I'm also hearing you say it's to the other and to the self. And so can you share? That's beautiful. I've never heard it described that way. For those of us who are new to energy healing, what is that? Like,
Mhm.
how would you describe? I mean, that sounds beautiful and makes sense to me. And what else is it? Like,
Uh, well, in the Brennan model, I'll just be able to speak about the Brennan model today.
right,
Um, Healing the healer is the most important step. Brennan healers are trained. Brennan healing, the program is 4 years long, part time. You know, five sessions a year, 5 days each, so 26 days a year. Now on Zoom, it's now available for this year, coming up
okay,
on Zoom. Um, but the work really starts out, who am I in relationship with myself? This is the work of being trained as a healer. Who am I in relationship with myself? What are my limiting images and beliefs? Where is my field held small or projected out too much to stay safe, or all these different things, right? So the Brennan training is about who am I in relationship to myself and those levels of the field, the first three chakras. The second year is about who am I in relationship with others, and what woundings do I carry from that? What longings do I have for deep relationship that I haven't yet nourished, Um, and the third year is who am I in relationship with the divine, with sacred surrender, with being nourished from something larger than ourselves. And the fourth year is about what is your unique healership, because it's a healer training school. But the reason I'm going through these is that that's important for the healer to explore all those areas and really go up to their growing edge and open more to their life force. And then that's the same journey we take a client on.
okay.
You know, what do they long for at their deepest soul's level? Why are they here? Why are they here in this life at the deepest level? Not a particular job, but how did you come to walk? What do you not want to miss being or doing, experiencing in this life? And people often come to an energy healer when they feel lost and somewhat off their soul's path,
Mm,
somewhat off their soul's alignment. Um, and so the Brennan work, we actually later on, you and I spoke, I can take the group through a couple of exercises to experience some of these core elements that we work on in Brennan. Uh, but people often come to a healer many times. It can be they're just a career direction or a divorce or a physical challenge, but they come because they don't feel like they're aligned at home with themselves in some way. And they maybe don't feel that their core essence is being expressed fully in how they are. And so, or that their physical body is reflecting a lack of energy, or they feel they have blocks in self expression, which is a lot of the classes coming up, is a lot about what are our deepest longings and how can we start to free our self expression. So, Brennan work isn't just about someone comes in and they receive a healing. Brennan work really connects very much uh, with the soul's journey of the client and also their current emotional journey and what's going on. It's not therapy, it's not talk therapy, but it's very deeply connected with their feelings and their feelings inside themselves.
mm,
If that makes sense.
of
I have my
course.
clients place a hand on themselves when they're describing something to really listen to what wants to come forward for healing.
And so we are energy beings. We are energy systems. and going, we can shift those energies and open them up and release energies that aren't supporting us and create and clear pathways. Is that also part of the work?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that we're empowered to do that. And I must say, myself in particular, this is my own bias or my own love, which is I don't feel we need to be as afraid of other people's energies as we tend to have in our holistic culture. And certainly Barbara's teaching says for a healer in training, uh, and for our clients that we are empowered to work with our own fields. We get hurt, we get affected, things happen, but in general, we're able to be the masters of our own field. Let's say you yell at me, you know, and my field shrinks in and gets tight. Well, of course, I want to have a healthy boundary issue if there's a friend that I feel is abusive, of course, or anything. You can make a totally rational decision about having a healthy boundary going forward. But in general, now the energy's mine. My field has been distorted from the experience. And as a healer and also as a client, I can work with my field to say, oh, I feel hurt. It hits my wound of abandonment, or judgment. And
Right.
that causes my field to distort this way. I pull back, into my will and start thinking. And so we just track all of that and say, how can I come back? What is my alignment? Let me come back to my own home
Mm.
and my deeper intentions for my life, which is actually to be unitive. And so now I can say, oh, maybe my friend's in distress. I don't know. But rather than be in the battle, the defensive battle, and actually that's what the upcoming class really focuses on is how can we step outside of sort of these cycles of defense and separation and self-protection, all of which end up getting in the way of relationship and our core essence shining out.
Mm.
So the class kind of works with the anatomy of that process uh, of separation, really. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yes, it makes great sense. And you are bringing up the class. So let me take a moment to say that, to tell everyone that
Mhm.
next Tuesday evening, September 8th at 7 o'clock at night, you are offering a free intro. So anybody can join and get an hour long with you, a taste of your work and deepening in this conversation.
Through
And
the
that
open center. Through the
through
open
the
center.
Open Center. Thank you. Exactly. Through the Open Center online. And then following that, that next Saturday, September 12th, you are offering a 1 day workshop from 10 until 5. There will be breaks and there will be lunch, but an all-day workshop through the Open Center to really deepen and explore this.
Mhm.
And I'm very aware that that 4-year program is a mastery program, but there are opportunities for all of us to learn and practice with you on a smaller level, this being one of them.
Absolutely, absolutely. I also say many of you listening may be familiar with Barbara Brennan's original book, Hands of Light, which is like, I don't know, 35, 40 years old now, something amazing. It's a Bible in Reiki, and all sorts of trainings use this book. And I often say to people in my workshops at the Open Center and other places that, there's a whole community of all of us just who read the book because it's really a change of, it's very deep material. And so there's a whole global community of people that never went to the Barbara Brennan School. You don't have to go to the Barbara Brennan School to be on a healing path. And, but people who've read the book are part of the community, people that just come to a 1 day workshop or the evening, we're all, actually, I should speak to this now because I love to say, anyone who's on this call or in a program is has a healer's heart, and you are called to even listen to a class like this right now because you have a healer's heart. You are drawn to this, and most likely you're quite intuitive if you're on this call and you experience life in a very rich way, seen and unseen. And so I feel like that's our community, not which school we went to or how we got trained. Our community is that we are part of our soul's purpose is to somehow be a positive force in this world. And
Right.
That's our link. And then all the other modalities, they all have gifts and different frequencies. And I'm going to be teaching the Brennan model, but I think that's a good framework to put it in, you know.
Right. You had mentioned to me that the Brennan model has is it four dimensions of being? Is that how you
Of
framed it?
humankind, 4 dimensions of humankind.
Of humankind. Would you share that?
Sure, sure. That's lovely. Uh, Really, the basis of all of Barbara's teachings are that, you know, we have these dimensions of being that we can really potentiate. We can bring more fully for our greater happiness and our greater alignment with a positive world purpose. Um, the first one, which was actually, this is what I love. I'm glad you asked this, Anna, because this is why I have stuck with Brennan work, and I really enjoyed training Brennan healers and being in this world, is because in Barbara's work, at the heart of all of us is a beautiful core star, core essence of the divine.
Mm,
And that in Brennan work is right in the center, like above your navel, beneath your solar plexus. You imagine just this beautiful core that each living thing is a unique expression of the divine and is pure and whole in itself. So just take a breath of that as a possibility. And often we can see it in a new baby or a beautiful bird or flower. We say, like, we don't say, oh, I wish the maple tree had different color leaves, you know. We just see its wonder, its miracle. And so at the deepest level of the self in the Brennan model is core essence, is core light. That's the name of the program, actually, the name of her latest book, Core Light Healing. And the purpose of all Brennan work is to help bring more core, the individual's core essence out more fully in their life and in their expression. Um, that's the purpose. And also, it's a guiding principle so that when a client comes to me, I am not looking for what is wrong.
right.
I'm not looking for what is wrong. In my alignment as a healer, I'm connecting with my and accepting my own deep divinity, my own deep goodness and pure light, which can be a challenge to all of us. And actually, caregivers, like most of the folks listening here, we tend to be quite self-judgmental about places we're not perfect. That, I mean, I've worked with nurses and therapists also my whole life, and healers. You know, it's just a trait. We tend to be ruminators. We tend to worry and worry what we could have done better in the past, and anticipate the future, and think maybe we hurt someone's feelings. Right? This is who healers are. They're really they're really sensitive and
That's
emotionally
right.
aware. And so one of the great things about this first element of the four is to really honor the core light in every person. And the only way to really witness core light is to be in the core dimension ourselves. So that a lot of the training is getting over our self judgments and really. I actually have my wall here, this beautiful mandalas where people have filled in all of their positive core qualities in a workshop. Like just to, and then to write another one down. Oh, I'm a loyal friend. You know, I'm just pulling one out of the air here, but and
Right.
then taking that in, because then the mind wants to say, yes, but I'm not always nice. No, no, no. But one of your qualities is that you tend to be a very loyal friend. Take that in. And as they do that, the energy field shifts and becomes more clear because they're in more truth. There actually are really, loyalty is one of their core qualities.
Right.
You know, I'm kind to animals, I'm creative, I'm funny, I have great humor. I have people just sitting with a partner sometimes, just saying, actually, we'll do this on the full day workshop, just repeating and writing down what are 10 positive core qualities. Sometimes people are in tears, real tears, to be reflected and witnessed for their deep goodness.
Mm.
And so the basis of Brennan work is all about the great forgetting, as Barbara calls it, that all these other distractions with us are just because we've forgotten that we are divine essence. We're embodied divine essence and creative life force. So then you have that be the safety framework of even what a healer is looking for. I'm not looking to tell someone what's wrong with them. I want to witness who they are in their wholeness and get to know them from that unique divinity place. And then, yes, we all have work to do because we're on a learning path. And so there's plenty of things to work on, but it's not the core. That makes sense, right, Anna? That's a
Absolutely. Absolutely, Priscilla, that we are an expression of divinity. We are that, and we're on a journey, on a human learning. We're in a school. Our human life is a school. And that's not to beat ourselves up for being imperfect. We're working on things and we're practicing and learning, and that's part of our arrival at mastery and of returning, isn't it?
yeah, right. It makes it's just so much safer and kinder and better. I think it's important not to rewound people with criticism or even to get, people coming in and want me to tell them what's wrong with their field. And I'm like, oh, I would never presume to do that until we really, we'll discover that together. It'll become obvious as we sit in a container of healing
Right.
what you want to work on next. You'll know, where do I feel distortion? Where do I feel uncomfortable? Uh, anyway, and in particular, I'm particularly strong in this direction myself, but I've really learned this at the Brennan School. The second aspect we then work, and there's core healings, of course, core star healings and in the Brennan model, but that's a really important work that the healer does throughout the rest of their life to keep remembering their deep goodness and surrendering into that. The second is the Hara, Hara dimension, the Hara line. And in martial arts, you'll know about the hara, and the tantien is right below the navel. Martial artists, have this point of power in the belly. And the second aspect of what's called the four dimensions of humankind in Brennan work is that the client, of course, we take the client on this journey, and the healer also is on this journey always. We align our life force and we send it down into the earth. And people can do that now if you like, because Anna said we might do some experiences. Take your fingers and place them right below your navel, like an inch, so inch and a half below your navel, an inch below your navel. And just imagine this ball of power. Take a few belly breaths. This is what martial artists do. The Dalai Lama says every day you should connect with this point in your belly, the tantien.
Mm.
And really allow yourself to become the oak tree. This is like effortless grounding. Breathe into the belly and feel the fire in the belly. The stabilizing force. And now imagine, and this ball is in the center of yourself, lined right in the center. Imagine sending a lead pipe, a straight line down into the molten core of the earth. Feel your feet very connected with the floor. And recently, the school has sent me a slide that had this low tone, the vibrational sound that they've recorded near the center of the earth. It's like, I mean, it's, incredibly grounding. So allow yourself to be supported there by that frequency. And allow some of that energy, that earth fire, to come up that pipe, to come up that line, right through the base of your spine, first chakra, and brightening that ball of fire. This is your life force up from the earth. Be rooted there. Take one more moment like that. Arrive fully where you're sitting. And now, keeping one hand sunken deeply into that ball of power in the belly, and you can feel yourself like an old martial artist, really centered and grounded. So the shoulders are down. There's no effort. It's effortless. It's all intention. Now, keeping both fingers sunken into the center line, I'd like you to slowly bring one set of fingers up the center line. You're tracing a line now. The line is continuing and it's going up the body. Eventually, you'll see my hand arrive here. And I'm going up to an area in Brennan work that we call the soul seat. It's right underneath your collarbones. And I'd like you to stay in alignment like this. And be aware of connecting these 2 points now. They're connected on this line of power. And you've sometimes seen people, stand like this. If I was standing, right? It's the same thing. You're lining your hara line up and down. And this would be lower over the belly.
Right.
Okay, you've seen people stand like this in martial arts and various healing things, but now we're just going to sink our fingers in there. Feel the power of the connection. And while staying rooted in the belly and to the earth, I'd like you to sink into this area in your upper chest called the soul seat, the area of your deepest soul's longings. Take a breath there in the upper chest. This is where people, when they see a beautiful sunset or something, go, oh, or a new baby, oh, right? This is where we feel a lot of our deep longings. And you can ask yourself briefly, and you're listening into this place of consciousness deep within. Sink those fingers in. You can just send in this question, but not with the mind, with your intuition and your energy fingers. Why did you come here for this life? What are some of your deepest soul's longings and values? And just sink in there and wait for this place to speak back to you. Breathe into that area. And in a workshop, we tend to then write these things down and sink in again. So just, when something comes to you, why did you come here? What do you not want to miss being or expressing or doing somehow? What's your primary purpose? Not a job, particular job, but what did your soul come to do and be? Take a few more breaths, connecting these points. And the purpose of this is that you're bringing your life force, connecting them to your soul's purpose and longing so that there's force for action, there's movement, there's power. And in a healing, my alignment, my intention, this is our intention, is for the highest good of the client. In a healing, my intention is for the highest good of the client. And so if I stray from that for some moment, I come back. What is my healer intention? And I align it through my whole system down into the structure of the earth. Or I came to be in loving community. That always comes up for me when I write down my soul's longings. What don't I want to miss in life? I don't want to miss being deeply connected with other people. Turns out it doesn't matter what I do for profession. I just want to be in kind connection with people. Seems to be that's why I came, to get nourished in that way and to help provide that. Right? But think for yourself for a moment why you came, and then we'll complete this. Your deepest soul's longings for your life. And also your dreams and visions live here somewhat too. So then take a moment to disconnect your hand with consciousness, be kind to yourself, gradually slow down the energy in your fingers and pull your energy fingers back up into your hands. Right? Because you've sunken your awareness deep in. So pull your energy awareness back into your hands. And when you're ready, intuitively, when you feel complete. Oh, and I had one other thing. So keep your hands there. This is very short, but this might be of interest. the other thing in this Brennan skill, this is the horror line. This is a very important skill in Brennan work for healers and for people self-healing, is to be aware if you tend to lean forward, right? And which means we go into our emotions when we bring our horror line forward. When we collapse into our emotions, when we're really upset, we go like this, right? We pull in, we sink into the emotions and collapse into them. And sometimes we are overcome by our emotions more often than feels healthy for us. And so in that case, the client or the student can learn to pull their horror line back a little bit. So just if you tend more to be sort of overwhelmed by your emotions or collapse into them, you can pull your horror line back a little here. And now be aware, do you tend to be will oriented? Does that tend to be your tendency under stress or challenge, that you pull back and if you have a tightness between your shoulder blades, often that's the will center where we're pushing through life. We rise back and up and we push through things. It's a forcing current, as Barbara says. And sometimes for our clients, they're very much in a will state. I mean, it's good to have healthy will, but too much will can exhaust us.
Mm.
Too much emotion and it's difficult to get anything done or move forward with our dreams because we're overwhelmed. So a lot of it is finding out, is our horror line not just aligned earth and sky, but balancing reason, will, mind, emotions, and will, and coming into a very responsive aligned state in our life. Not a manufactured fake state of being, but an actual balanced, healthy, where we have full emotions. We also have our strength of will. We have our brilliant minds, but we're also deeply intuitive and grounded. And so a lot of Brennan work is helping a client come into this place of joy, really, and functionality. And also for anyone who's a healer in training, it's very important to work with that as well.
Wow, that's beautiful. So you just taught us a very powerful practice called the horror line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Horror line.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's in any one of Barbara's books, has the 4 dimensions. And then the third dimension, very quickly, I'll just say, is the auric level, right? Where our emotions hang out. And when you're angry, your aura lights up red, and is powerful. And sometimes you keep small and you pull your auric field in. And blocks and woundings, which is what the work is in the all-day class, is really exploring how our core essence and our balance, our hara balance, can all get sort of distorted based on our woundings and our painful experiences, our ancestral patterns and cultural patterns. And so it's a lot about how do we unravel those cycles, energy cycles that keep us in a distorted pattern or with blocks functioning as normal in us. We've had them for so long. How can we begin to shift that and come more into a state where we are less defended, less afraid, still vulnerable. We're able to be with the soft pain of being a human, but at the same time, let our core essence shine out. That's what the correlate healing work is about, that sort of energy cycles. Anyway.
So you named the first dimension, the second dimension, the third, and then is there a fourth?
Well, the fourth is the physical. Is that one of the important things for all of us is to take care of our physical bodies. And, sometimes we come to healers when we have physical issues or challenges. And that's the presenting complaint. That's why people come. But to always take care of the physical body, the gift of it, and move it. And we were joking. I said, healers have hips, but
Right.
it's important. Brennan, and again, I'm not to push Brennan training, other modalities use the body too, but in Brennan training, we're very, really move a lot, dance and move and breathe and ground and discharge energy when we're overcharged, and, work with the physical energetic system.
Right, because we have a body that allows us to move and be agents on earth, right? Free agents on earth, and it's our temple to take care of. But
Yes,
it's
and
also an energy source. It's also a place where we hold energy, we give energy. It's affected by energy.
right. You need for to do many of the Brennan healings, you need a lot of energy. You need a lot of life force. You can't be depleted. A lot of times people ask about energy safety and will we absorb someone's energy if we're working on them and questions like that. And really the main approach to energy safety for an energy healer is to have a full field to be happy to as best to your ability to have fun to especially as a sensitive heart-based person anyone on this call really it's important to address your needs for fun and music or nature and things that give you great joy doing yoga with other people don't deny yourself that because that's your greatest asset in terms of staying healthy with other people's energy. I actually never I don't worry about absorbing. I mean, I've been a practitioner for decades now. I don't worry about absorbing other people's bad energy. I don't experience it that way. If
Right.
someone has had a lot of chemotherapy or something, I'll be sure to. I always wash my arms and hands between clients, but I'll be sure to take an extra long shower, maybe just orally. But in general, it's
Mhm.
just human. It's just human things. Someone has grief, someone has hurt,
Right.
someone's angry. They're all things I've felt. And I do understand it's good to have healthy energy boundaries, but not so much shielding the self because
Right.
that's a distortion too. If I take all my energy and make a big shield against you all,
Right.
I've distorted my field. I'm not healthy. It's much better to stay open and aware, I think, and sensing and be intuitive, and that's how you know it's time to leave the room if it's not safe. Right? If
Right.
we distort our chakras, we're not seeing clearly. I like to stay open and be like, oh, actually, this is really painful to be here.
Right.
Okay, I think I'll go. I don't
Okay.
make anybody bad.
All of the exercises that you just guided us through, I felt so powerfully. It's like it almost becomes, it's not even imagination, it's the truth. You feel the grounding into the center of the earth. You feel the heat of the fire coming up. I could just feel how powerful that is. And I really appreciate the way you've mentioned what I heard was threefold. It's about healing the self, it's
Mhm.
about understanding other people's energies or events energies towards you and how to manage that, and then it's about supporting other people as
Mhm.
a healer or just as a person as in a healing mindset. So it's very multidimensional, but ultimately it depends on our personal health and empowerment, our strength and our energy strength, which is a great first base. It's like a great first place to
Yeah.
start with.
Yeah.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah. You come home to yourself and you keep building that. It's you keep building where am I in distortion? I used to, as the dean of the Brennan School, there were hundreds of people and
Right.
uh, uh, several hundred people. At that time, it was like 400 students or something there. And, I had a lot of interactions and there were a lot of faculty also. So, I would have moments and I would, at the end of my day, be like, well, who am I in separation from? Who
Right.
am I not seeing? Forget about blaming others. Enough I have enough of my own constant because I don't want. Here's the thing. I mean, of course, it's good to be good. It's good to be a good person,
Right.
but it's also necessary for people. Necessary for all humans for their health. It turns out that feelings of judgment of others and all these other things, or feeling powerless or a victim, they're not reparative states for the anatomy. They're stressful. They cause fight or flight response in the body. It's much better to feel like we belong, that we're cared for, that we care for others. These are the when the body repairs itself on the cellular level, and that's just science. Everybody that's known. Um, so it's really important, especially though for healer types like the people probably on this call, that it's not good for us to live in separation.
Right.
It's not good for us to be in the cycles of defense, uh, Doesn't mean we can't be empowered to make choices. I'm not saying that, but to
Right.
be wrapped up in our own wounds and defense cycles is very wearing on people who were meant to be on this earth to be lovers.
Right.
You know, that
Yeah,
makes
Priscilla, I love what you're saying. You are a dean, which is a very a tough job where you're interacting, you're enforcing policies. And so for all of us in all walks of life, we're a police officer, we're a nurse, we're a dean, we're the postman. I mean, we're all in this place of giving and managing people and life circumstances. So this tool serves not just somebody who wants to be a healer and go into profession, but it serves everyone. This awareness,
Mhm.
this skill set is for everyone.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, to figure out why you're here and what are your true values. And you don't, I always like to say, you don't want to get hijacked out of your own purpose because of the dramas. And I'm not speaking actually of our current life in the world, which,
Sure.
this was my lecture before everything that's going on now. So, I think in general, as humans, it's easy to get hijacked into dramas of where we're the good one and they're the bad one, or this friend is good and I'm bad, or this neighbor's not good. And it's really important as healers, as people with healers' hearts, that really wears on us even more than other people.
Mm,
I have like my sister, so she'll be like, "Oh, that didn't bother me," and I'm like, "Oh my God, I thought about it all night." I remember my sister and I. This was a great story. We were at a rest stop some years ago, and someone's car had broken down or something, and they had all their possessions out. It just looked like a bad situation. They had a couple little children with them, and I was like, oh, should we stop? And she was like, no, why are you thinking that? I mean, they were in the rest area, they could get help and everything, but I'm the healer type. So, and then like 20 minutes down the road, I'm like, oh, I really feel bad we didn't offer help for those people. She's like, Priscilla, stop it. Like that's not her thing, She doesn't
right.
feel that way. But I was really affected by that. So
Right.
for people like ourselves that are drawn to healing and are quite sensitive, um, it's really important to, I think, do an inventory and say, who am I in separation with? Well, one of my workshops, I have a relationship garden, and we just list, people at work, people at home, friends, neighbors, and then just like put a star next to anybody that you have like a little with. And
Mm,
I remember my colleague and friend Ricardo was like, I'm so surprised at how many people I have issues with,
right.
And so to untangle ourselves, not carry that, it
Right.
wears us out. And it's not why I came, we can all have our arguments, that's fine, but
Right.
we don't want to get overabsorbed. And being a healer really means a lifetime. You can't just show up at the healing table and run compassion, and unconditional love. You must practice it every moment you can and be very forgiving with yourself, but you have to have an intention to be a healer in the world, or
Mm.
you won't have it when you get to the table.
I
You must build up your neurologic strength. They know that we build new neural pathways if we embody something regularly, and also energetically you must learn how to let that go and forgive yourself and come into contact. I'm sorry, you were going to speak.
No, not at all. Just that I love how you started out the whole conversation saying that there are anybody that there's healers all over the world. Anybody who's holding that sense of wishing the best for everybody else is a healer. So the community isn't the Brennan School. It's not Reiki. It's everybody. It's people who've maybe never studied. It's everybody who maybe read the book. I think that's how you started it out. The tens of thousands, if not more. I don't know how many people have read the
Over a million with Hands of Light alone.
Okay,
It's
Hands of Light. Isn't that amazing?
translated in 26 languages, so that's
Right.
healers all over the world just
So
with that one modality and one book.
that's our community. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That feels so good to think about it that way. That's great. So can we take a minute to talk about the Saturday day long that you're offering
Of
uh,
course.
through the Open Center? Because I'm really intrigued. The title is The Brennan Core Light, Healing to Create the Life You Love. And
Right.
so that now we're moving into like that makes me think of thriving and just totally being excited and in love with the life that I've created. And
Right.
the exercise that you shared with us feels like it's asking us that question, why are we here? What are
Mhm.
we here to do? So what would the day be like with you that Saturday?
Right. Great. Thank you. Good question. Um, it would be, we've begun it here together, uh, but it will be more time for a deep experiential work so that we can very much, write down these things and share them. And it's participatory. It's not a lecture series. There's some beautiful slides, but it's not a slide series. It's a healing time together. One of the great things about energy work is you must do it with people, and so there's great medicine in being with other healer types. You don't have to be a professional healer or have any training, but to have a healer's heart, an interest in this, there's big medicine in coming together and sharing and experiencing these things together. So
Mm.
we'll one of the other questions I have for that workshop, and have people write down and think about, is like, what dreams and visions have you sort of had throughout your life? Some that you may have forgotten, or that were just little whispers, like, oh yeah, I always wanted to do that, and
Mm.
we
Right.
start to, yeah, we start to get a feel. And it doesn't matter if it's a particular expression. It's just that you're following that longing. In other words, you don't have to become a famous singer, but you might be important for you to sing and to share that with people. Find a way, find a tribe, find a pod. Um, and you can live your soul's longings in any environment. Anna and I were talking. I've had many corporate jobs. I went into the corporate world to bring holistic health and wellness there, and was there for many years at many different places. Uh, and even at the Brennan School, because I was the dean. I ended up in a lot of meetings with hotel conference people, conference
Right.
managers, and I
Right.
just like done a big all school meditation healing, and now I'm in this room, and I started to feel like, this is a waste of my time. And then I went, oh wait, my soul's longing was to be in like heart-based community with others. I can do that here.
Right. You can bring that there.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I have
Yeah.
my experience. I don't have to let that go because it's not the holistic environment in the moment.
Right.
And I think part of this will be, so the first part is just having time and support to actually sink into our soul's longings and why are we here? What don't we want to miss? And then deepen into some of these exercises that I've shown. And then explore, wow, what are some of the ways, probably based on our early wounding, that we are reactive to the world? What are some repeating cycles? That's probably the best way to say it. What are some repeating self-limiting cycles that are going on in our life? Things that have come around 10 years later, here I am again, something similar going on that has the same profile that I did not want to do. Um, what are my triggers? And again, it's not a therapy process group. We'll all work together, keeping our sharing short and respectful. I don't have anyone reading anyone else's field, or giving other people advice. I set guidelines at the beginning so that and people love it, so that we can all learn and share and listen. Very short sharings to the point, but really start to explore in a wonderful way. How do I go into a distorted pattern of defense that ends up trying to protect my wound, but I end up either making myself small or being in blame, or doing whatever pattern developed to keep us safe at some point. But my core essence isn't really getting to come out in how I relate with people or what I go after in terms of how I want to express myself. And so we're going to explore that, all of us together.
That's fantastic.
Sounds
That's
like it's fun. I mean, I think it's fun.
it is.
My sister wouldn't think it was fun, but I think it's fun because it's all based on the premise of, we're all doing the best we can. And people have some just beautiful qualities in there. And so it just, when we step outside of self-judgment and judgment of others, it's a lot of grace arrives.
Right.
I'm sure you felt this, and a lot of
Yeah.
grace arrives, and we actually have a lot of support from the larger healing energies once we as humans come together with heart and respect and a desire to grow, a desire to become more light in a
Right.
real way, not just pretend we're, ascended, but
Right.
who am I really,
Right.
and can I be witnessed in that? So
Right.
that's what the day is. I mean, I've done quite a few Zoom classes now, and I did another Brennan workshop, Hands of Light, in the end of June with you at the Open Center, you folks, and uh, I was amazed at how how healing it was. We were all so bonded and happy.
That's
You know,
so
we take breaks.
fantastic. I love it. It's such a, I mean, I can't say enough how when we went from brick and mortar to online, there was the worry that the work wouldn't translate.
Mm,
That's not true at all. The
mhm,
work translates, and the community that we share with, even on Zoom, is so inspiring.
mm.
And it does affect and it does change and heal. And I mean, I feel like this conversation we've had today has been so uplifting. It's so, I feel positive and I feel light. And I feel like I'm in touch with that light that you reminded me exists. And I bet everybody who's going to watch this either now or later will feel the same way.
Wonderful.
So thank you so much. And just a huge encouragement for everybody to join Priscilla. It is on September 12th. It's a Saturday. Now, if you're not available on September 12th, you can still sign up and you will get the recording of it. So you can still participate in it later. So there are people in different time zones where the times don't quite work. So that's an invitation. And I want to, you and I spoke, Priscilla, beforehand, where I asked, and I'd like our audience to know, you teach online, you also do healing sessions online. So you're available for people. And along those lines, it's a question that came up. How does healing work at a distance? I mean, for those of us who say, but they're not next to me, they're not touching me. How would that work?
Right. Um, Oh, I should say my practice was in New York until the pandemic, actually at the Open Center. I didn't work sort of for the Open Center, but I rented a space there and had my practice there for years now.
Yeah.
But online has really worked out well. I've always done online sessions, but now I'm doing that entirely. What I do to really help is I have people on the phone or on Zoom uh, so that I actually have the clients have their hands on themselves
Okay.
and not doing all the complicated things, but you know, breathe into your heart and connect with your heart. And I'm working on the heart now, even if it's people can't see me. You know, I'm working on the heart now, and I have a hand under your neck, and I don't do a blow by blow, but I stay connected viscerally with their experience. Uh, some people do long distance healings. I don't, you know, without being on the phone or Zoom at all. That's also
Mhm.
offered. I tend not to that as much because I have the option of hearing their voice and letting them hear me breathing and working, and I can say, "Are you okay?" or "What's going on?" But you know, we all know that if we have a negative thought about someone uh, and something happened to them terrible the next day, we'd feel bad about that negative thought because intuitively we know that energy travels, intention travels, you know. And so it's the same with positive things, holding people in our awareness and being responsible for our thoughts too is another wonderful thing to know that when we have a negative thought, we're sending it out there. So it's really good to, as a healer, to be very responsible for our energy and all those little personality things that we think don't make a difference because they're just in our head. As Barbara said, you know, when we have emotion behind a thought, it flies.
Right.
And so the same with on the positive side, uh, distance energy healing, it's the same thing. Energy travels, intention travels. It's been quite lovely. I think I told Anna when I stepped down as school dean, um, I'm still affiliated with the school, but I really had been at the school for 20 years with Barbara, and so I really wanted to come home because I worked in Europe, I worked in Florida, and so I was just on the road a lot, and it was so great to come back and really have a full time practice again. Oh, Anna, one thing we should
Yeah.
say, we just have a minute.
Yeah.
You wanted me to comment for people. You know, I've been in this field a long time, and I just want people to know the progress that has been made.
Yes.
You know, 40 years ago when I started, I had a holistic health business in Boston and would sneak into hospital nurses stations and put up my little flyers, you know, for my holistic health programs to offer them. And and then you know, go ahead 20 years, and then people coming for energy healings after I was trained would be very holistic, etc. Now my practice in New York for the last several years has been attorneys, you know, money market people, you know, marketing people, business people. Everyone's coming for energy healing.
Right.
Really, one day I had all attorneys. I kid you not. One day I remembered it. I was like, oh, young male attorneys,
That's
everybody.
amazing.
The stress is so high. And even if someone had a therapist or a life coach already, something about energy healing is like of the soul. It's so quiet. It's nonverbal for the most part. And we sit together first and deeply sink into the
Mm,
inner being of each other, and from there work intuitively. It's always different depending on what it's like. The deepest listening you could do, and being listened to by someone else in an honoring way feels like one of the most healing things we know. But anyway, as Anna and I had talked about, it's
yeah,
completely wide open now. I feel like energy healing is where yoga was 20 years ago. It's like, you know,
right.
it's wonderful, and just to have a depth of knowledge of it, take it really responsibly because it's very real.
Right. And you have been a leader. You have been leading the holistic health movement, let's say in the United States for now 40 some odd years, if not longer, if we add up.
Something. I'm 64 and I think I was 22, but I was just a spud. I said back before Omega Institute or the Open Center were even like beginning, I guess. They were
Right.
just beginning, and
Right.
they weren't even located where they are. Yeah, I was just an intern in the beginning. I knew I had a fire for this.
And
Also for my own self-care. I mean, I'm a heart-based person too, and so it's really important to always remember all these skills are good for self-care.
right.
All these brand skills are meant for and good for your own self-care, all of you listening. So even if you just pick up a used Brennan book and go
Right.
through the exercises, they're invaluable for your self-care.
That's wonderful. Well, Priscilla, thank you so much for being with us today, for all of the work that you've done, from being so available. One of the things I noticed on your website is that you give your email and your phone number. It's easy to find you.
Right.
So you,
So
you make yourself
you can text.
very available.
And
Yeah,
before these classes, people, if they have questions about them, I'm happy to. I mean, I like contact with people. It's not stressful for me. So, and even for my clients, I always do a free consultation first to see if it's a match for both of us. I don't want to force anything. There's enough work to do in the world.
that's wonderful.
Well,
Well, thank
Anna,
you for
thank you
leading
so
the
much.
charge, and for everybody with us at the New York Open Center. Opencenter.org is where you can find information both about next Tuesday at 7 o'clock, a free intro. So a free evening event with Priscilla, September 8th, it's a Tuesday. And then
Mhm.
that following Saturday, September 12th, an all-day program entitled Brennan Core Light, Healing to Create the Life You Love. And we all want that. So
Yay.
thank you, Priscilla, so much.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody, for being with us. And we will see each other soon.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.